Welcome to Machinist Masterclass Instructional. I'm Jared, and today we'll be going over Lathe Basic G Code. So for Lathe, the starting blocks are pretty easy. For this, you only need, of course, the program number, G18, G20, and a homing. Lathe is interesting in a way that you don't have to put work coordinates as far as G54, G55, because you're essentially always in G54. You can add it in there, however, I am not. So, starting off with the blocks of code. This will always be your opening. Your program number, your G18, your G20, and then your homing. G28, U0 point, W0 point. All right, this is a copy and paste. So after that, we've homed the machine. Now it's in a safe spot to make a tool change. So we're going to call tool 1 with offset 1. So that's T101. And the 01 is, all that's very important. T1 is calling tool 1, and the 01 is offset 1. Because you can do T213, which means tool 2 is offset 13. You do tool 501, tool 5 with offset 01. So be very careful. So this is tool 1, offset 01. Now with lathe, we want to be in a constant surface footage mode, all right? And with that, we need to set a maximum spindle speed because as it starts to go towards X0, it's going to want to spin as fast as it can. So what we do is we set a maximum safe spindle speed, and that's using a G50. And for our Haas, we're going to be doing G50 S3000. The G96 puts it in that constant surface footage, and we want it to be at 500 constant surface footage, okay? And then we're putting on an M3 for clockwise rotation. Of course, after that, M8 for our coolant. Now we're doing some movements, okay? So we're going to wrap it to a safe spot. This is always going to be your go-to location for when you are done with something or when you are going to something. You put in your safe location, all right? So we just change the tool, turn on the spindle, turn on the coolant, and move to our rapid position, all right? Now we're going to go into a G01, which is a feed, to enable our tool nose radius comp, okay? That's our G42 for right hand tool nose radius comp. And you have to do that inside of a move, okay? So I like to give them a minimum of 100 thousandths every time I am putting in tool nose radius comp, okay? So from here, we're going from X 2.1 to X 2.0 and Z from 0.2 to 0.1. And of course, for the G01, we have to put a feed, which is 20 thousandths in this. We're not cutting anything here. I'm just giving it a feed for movement. Now we can set up the line for our roughing. That's our G71. G71 is going to calculate all the steps, all those depths of cut it needs to take, okay? So all we're going to put in here is some parameters. So we're going to say G71, because we want to do a roughing, OD, P100 and Q200. I'm saying start from here and end to here with P100, Q200. That'll make more sense when we start getting further. U.01, I'm saying leave 10 thousandths on the diameter of this part for cleanup. And the W is for Z. So I'm saying leave 5 thousandths on the Z for cleanup. My depth of cut, 20 thousandths. So that means I'm going from this 2-inch part down to 0.5 at my smallest. So it's going to take 20 thousandths cuts, as it'll do all that calculation for you. And we're going to do that at a feed rate of 15 thousandths inches per revolution. Okay, and that's going to be our roughing feed rate. So now we're into what was the P100 Q200, and we're going to notate that with the N100 N200. Okay, so don't get confused here. So N100 is the start of the G71, and N200 is the end. And within those is where you put all of your points. Okay, so my first point, I'm not facing in this, so I'm just going to start right at what that outside diameter is for that smallest point. I'm going to X 0.5, Z 0.1. I don't need to go to 0 from here because I'm going to take a full OD cut. If I was doing some facing, then I would need to go to 0 and bring X up. I'm not doing that here. This is more simple. Okay. So X 0.5, Z 0.1 with a feed rate of 0.005. Now, it's not going to do that here. That feed rate that you put right there is your finishing G70 feed rate. So make sure you're keeping an eye on that because you want that to be a lot slower so that your part comes out a lot shinier, nicer. Okay. So that is going to be your G70 feed rate. So 0.2, we're still going to be in a G01, Z negative 0.5. Okay, so very simple, only a Z movement. And then we go to a X 1.25 for 0.3. Okay, now to 0.4, we need to make an angle cut, okay? And it's given us the dimension of X 1.5 and Z negative 0.63. Okay, so when you put both your X and Z in the same line, it's going to make an angle. Next line is Z negative 1.25 for 0.5. X 2.0 for 0.6. So just straight back. And now we're on our last line. So we're putting N200 G01 Z negative 1.9. Now our part only calls for 1.75, but I'm going past 150 thou for cleanup. I don't want to go just stop right at 1.75 because I need to account for maybe I'm going to be sawing off and parting. Maybe I need to have more for cleanup. So you want to just bring it back just a little bit past. So our G70, we just did all of our roughing. Right after our N200, we can just put G700, I'm sorry, G70 with our P100 Q200 code, okay? That's going to execute the finishing pass right then. And then you just close out your program. All right, a G40 will close out tool nose radius comp. Then G28, we've seen that before, homes the machine. M30 ends and resets the program. So really it's that short and simple of a program for that, okay? Here's a full G code. And when we put that in NC Viewer, this is what it's looking like, okay? So you have to imagine if the chuck was on the left-hand side like a lathe, and that your tool will be coming in from the right. And you can see where our rapid tube position is at the first dot, and a short little movement that we're putting in our tool nose radius comp. All right, and then from then it's going into our G71, right? It's going to start roughing. Now, NC Viewer is not going to show the roughing passes, but this will show your G70. And this is that blue line you see is the G70. All right, so the G70 will come down, and this is how you kind of check how your contour turned out. This is how you check to see if your angles are wrong and things like that. But as you can see, and your G70 is coming down to X.5, back, up, makes the angle. Okay, seems to be working out just fine. All right, there's another video. Thank you for watching. leave a message down in the comments if you need anything else.